After 6 months, rescue came. Humans had tamed 3 native species and started a cafe. The cargo ship Meridian Dawn shook violently as it fell through the atmosphere of the unknown planet. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel while the crew desperately worked at their stations. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair and watched the surface rushing toward them through the viewport. "Brace for impact," she shouted. The ship crashed into a clearing surrounded by strange purple forests. Metal groaned and twisted. Systems flickered and died. Then everything went silent except for the hissing of damaged pipes. Sarah stood up slowly and checked on her crew. 12 people total. Engineer Marcus Webb helped Dr. Amara Akafer to her feet. Young Jenny Park coughed but gave a thumbs up. David Torres was already checking the medical supplies. Everyone had survived. "Report," Sarah said calmly. Marcus ran diagnostics on his portable tablet. His face grew serious. "Captain, the main engines are destroyed. The communication array is badly damaged. Life support is working, but running on backup power. Maybe 6 months or more." The air smelled sweet but unfamiliar. "We need to make this work," Sarah told her crew. "We have emergency supplies for 8 months. Marcus will repair the beacon. Meanwhile, we survive and we stay together." Over the next 3 days, the crew set up a camp near the ship. They built shelters using cargo containers and salvaged materials. They tested the local water and found it safe to drink. Some of the plants were edible. Things could have been much worse. On the 4th day, they saw the first native creature. It was about the size of a large dog, covered in soft fur that looked like it was made from tiny crystals. The fur changed colors in the sunlight, shifting from blue to green to purple. The creature had 6 legs and large, intelligent eyes. It watched the humans from behind a cluster of trees. "Nobody move quickly," Sarah whispered to her crew. "Let it observe us." "What was that?" Jenny asked with wonder in her voice. "A native species," Dr. Akafer said excitedly. "This planet has intelligent life. We need to be very careful and very respectful." They looked like birds but with 4 wings instead of 2. Their feathers changed colors like mood rings, shifting through the rainbow. They flew in graceful patterns above the human camp, making musical chirping sounds. The crew started calling them sky whispers. On day 6, Marcus was digging a foundation for their water filtration system when small creatures popped out of the ground around him. They looked like a mix between rabbits and prairie dogs, with clever little hands and curious faces. They chittered at Marcus, tilted their heads, then vanished back underground. "We have at least 3 intelligent species here," Dr. Akafer said that evening. "The crystalline ones, the flying ones, and the diggers. They seem curious but cautious, just like us." Earth fruits from their emergency supplies, cooked vegetables. Nothing happened for several days. Then one morning Jenny found that the food was gone. In its place were strange purple berries and beautiful smooth stones. "They are communicating," Dr. Akafer said with excitement. "They are saying they accept our gift and offer their own." The crystalline creatures, which the crew called Vrel, began watching from shorter distances. A family group of 5 lived nearby. The largest one, which the humans thought might be the mother, had particularly beautiful fur that sparkled like diamonds. Jenny named her Shimmer. The Sky Whispers started landing on nearby branches during meal times. They watched the humans cook and eat with great interest. Their feathers turned bright yellow and orange when they seemed happy or excited. The small diggers, which the crew called groundlings, were the bravest. They started coming right up to the edge of the camp. They loved watching the humans work. When Marcus used tools, groups of groundlings gathered to observe, chittering among themselves. 3 weeks after the crash, a breakthrough happened. Marcus was eating lunch outside when a young groundling approached. It was smaller than the others, with patches of lighter fur. It sat just a meter away and watched Marcus eat his apple. Marcus slowly cut a small piece of apple. He placed it on the ground between them. Then he moved back. The groundling looked at the apple piece. It looked at Marcus. Then it quickly grabbed the fruit and took a tiny bite. Its eyes went wide. It chittered happily and ate the rest. "Hey everyone," Marcus called softly. "Come see this slowly." It placed them where the apple had been and looked at Marcus. Marcus picked up the berries and smiled. "Thank you, little friend." They had months of waiting ahead, but they were not alone. They had neighbors, and those neighbors were willing to be friends. Sarah looked at the stars appearing in the alien sky. Help would come eventually. Until then, they would learn to live here. They would build bridges between species. They would show what humans did best. They would build community. The friendship with the young groundling opened new doors. Within days, more groundlings visited the human camp. They brought their families and showed the humans their underground tunnels. The entrances were hidden beneath colorful mushrooms and glowing moss. Marcus spent hours watching the groundlings dig and build. They were incredible engineers. Their tunnels had ventilation systems and storage rooms. They even had areas that stayed cool for food preservation. "Look at this," Marcus said to Sarah. "They understand architecture better than some human builders I know." They chittered and gestured, showing him their techniques. Marcus started drawing pictures in the dirt to communicate. He drew simple shapes and tools. The groundlings understood and drew their own pictures back. Meanwhile, Dr. HFY worked on connecting with the skywhispers. She noticed they responded to music. When she hummed while working, they flew closer. When she sang, their feathers turned beautiful shades of pink and gold. One afternoon, HFY played a recording of classical music from Earth. A dozen skywhispers landed nearby. They listened with their heads tilted. Then they began to sing along, creating harmonies that made the humans stop and stare in wonder. "They are musical beings," HFY said with tears in her eyes. "Music is their language." The skywhispers loved looking at the drawings. Soon, Jenny was drawing pictures of the skywhispers while they posed for her. They seemed to understand what art was. They brought her colorful feathers and interesting plants to use as materials. The Vrel remained the most cautious of the three species. They watched from a distance, never coming too close. But Sarah noticed they were always watching, especially Shimmer, the large female with the diamond-like fur. Sarah decided to be patient. Every morning she sat in the same spot near the forest edge. She brought her breakfast and ate quietly. She never tried to approach the Vrel. She just showed them she was peaceful and consistent. After 2 weeks of this routine, something changed. Shimmer walked out of the forest. She moved slowly, carefully. She sat down about 10 meters from Sarah, then she just watched. Sarah continued eating her breakfast. She did not stare at Shimmer. She did not make sudden moves. She simply existed in the same space. This became their morning routine. Each day, Shimmer came a little closer. After another week, she sat just 5 meters away. Sarah could see her crystalline fur moving gently in the breeze. Each crystal caught the sunlight and created tiny rainbows. One morning, Sarah brought extra food. She placed a plate of roasted vegetables on the ground between them. Then she went back to her own breakfast. Shimmer stared at the plate for a long time. Then she stood and walked to it. She sniffed the food carefully. She took one small piece and ate it slowly. Her fur suddenly blazed with bright blue light. Sarah smiled. "You like it?" Shimmer had 3 young ones who were curious about the humans. They were smaller, with fur that sparkled like opals. David Torres discovered something important during his observations. The 3 species never interacted with each other. The Vrel stayed in the purple forest. The skywhispers flew over the meadows. The groundlings lived in the rocky hills. They had invisible boundaries that none of them crossed. "Captain," David said one evening, "I think these species have never been friends. They avoid each other completely. We treat all 3 species with equal kindness." They cooked food in the open where all 3 species could watch. The Vrel observed from the forest edge. The skywhispers perched on nearby trees. The groundlings sat at the camp border. None of the three species came at the same time. They took turns, but they all came. Marcus noticed the species seemed fascinated by human food preparation. They watched every step. When he chopped vegetables, they leaned forward. When he cooked over the fire, their eyes followed every movement. When the humans ate together and laughed, all three species watched with what looked like longing. "They want to understand us," Marcus said. "No," Jenny corrected softly. "They want what we have, community, togetherness." An idea grew in his mind. He thought about the meal times. He thought about how food brought his crew together even in difficult times. He thought about how the three species all loved watching the humans eat and share stories. By morning, he had a plan. Marcus found Sarah having breakfast with Shimmer and two other Vrel. "Captain, I have an idea. It might sound strange, but hear me out." "Marcus, that is either brilliant or completely impossible." In the tree above them, three sky whispers sang their morning songs. Near the edge of camp, a family of groundlings watched and chittered. "What if it works?" Sarah repeated quietly. Then louder, "Okay, let us try. Gather the crew, we have a new project. We are going to build a cafe." They had limited supplies and damaged equipment, and they were going to open a cafe for three species who had never sat together peacefully. It was the most human thing they could possibly do. The crew gathered around Marcus as he drew his plan in the dirt. He sketched tables, seating areas, and a cooking space. Everyone stared at the drawing. "A cafe," Marcus said firmly. "A place where all three species can gather safely, where they can eat together and learn about each other. We barely have enough supplies for ourselves." HFY nodded slowly. "Food is a universal language. Every intelligent species needs to eat. Sharing meals creates bonds. We show them it is safe." Some were tall platforms for Vrel who preferred to stand while eating. Jenny created perches for the sky whispers. She attached strong branches to the ceiling at various heights. She decorated them with colorful fabric from cargo padding. Dr. HFY and two other crew members built the kitchen area. They used salvaged equipment and created a cooking space visible from all angles. They wanted everyone to watch the food being prepared. The groundlings watched the construction with great interest. They offered to help by digging a cool underground storage area connected to the cafe. Marcus accepted gratefully. The groundlings worked with amazing speed, creating a perfect food storage space in just 2 days. The Sky Whispers brought gifts. They dropped colorful feathers and smooth stones near the construction site. Jenny wove the feathers into decorations that hung from the ceiling. The cafe became beautiful with natural ornaments. Shimmer and her family watched from the forest edge every day. Sarah always waved to them. Slowly, Shimmer began bringing things too, pieces of crystal that glowed softly at night. The crew placed them around the cafe like natural lighting. Finally, the cafe was ready. It had seating for everyone. It had a working kitchen. It had decorations from all three species. Now came the hard part. "How do we invite them?" David asked. Sarah smiled. "The same way we first made friends, with food." They used their remaining earth vegetables and combined them with edible local plants they had carefully tested. They made roasted root vegetables with herbs. They prepared sweet pastries using local fruits. They cooked grain porridge with honey. They made sure to have options that each species had enjoyed before. Then they waited. Sarah walked to the forest edge where Shimmer usually appeared. "Shimmer, we built something special. We would be honored if you and your family came to visit." Her crystalline fur shifted from blue to purple. She made a low humming sound. Dr. HFY sang a gentle melody toward the trees where sky whispers gathered. Several of them flew down and listened. Their feathers turned curious shades of yellow and green. Marcus went to the rocky hills and chittered at the groundlings in his best imitation of their language. A group of them popped their heads out of their tunnels and stared at him. All three species had been invited. Now the humans could only wait. The afternoon grew long. The crew sat in their new cafe feeling nervous. Maybe this would not work. Maybe the species would never come. Then, as the two suns began to set, Shimmer emerged from the forest. She walked slowly toward the cafe. Her three young ones followed close behind. Two other adult Vrel came with her. The crew stayed very still. Sarah gestured toward a tall table prepared especially for Vrel. Shimmer approached it carefully. She sniffed the food laid out there. Then she took a small bite of roasted vegetables. Her fur exploded with golden light. The young Vrel chittered with excitement and rushed to eat too. "They like it," Jenny whispered. 10 minutes later, a family of groundlings appeared. They moved in quick, nervous bursts. They stopped frequently to look around. Marcus sat very still near their low table. The smallest groundling, the same one who had first accepted an apple piece, recognized Marcus. It chittered happily and scampered to the table. The others followed. The Vrel and groundlings were in the same space. They noticed each other. The Vrel watched the groundlings with curiosity. The groundlings stared at the Vrel with wide eyes, but no one left. The food was too good. Just when Sarah thought the evening could not get better, 3 skywhispers landed on the perches. They sang soft, questioning notes. Dr. Akafer sang back gently. She placed dishes of sweet fruits on elevated platforms. The skywhispers flew down to investigate. They tasted the food. Their feathers burst into brilliant reds and oranges. They sang louder, happier songs. Now all 3 species were in the cafe together. For the first time in perhaps thousands of years, Vrel, skywhispers, and groundlings shared the same space peacefully. The humans barely breathed. This was a delicate moment. Then something unexpected happened. One of the young Vrel moved too quickly and bumped a table. A plate slid toward the edge. A skywhisper dove and caught it with its talons before it fell. The bird placed the plate back on the table. The young Vrel hummed softly. The skywhisper's feathers turned gentle blue. It was "thank you and you are welcome" in a language beyond words. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. Jenny grabbed Dr. Akafer's hand. David grinned so wide his face hurt. Sarah watched Shimmer, who was watching everything with intelligent, understanding eyes. The evening continued. The crew served more food. They moved carefully between tables, making sure everyone had enough. They smiled and spoke softly. They created an atmosphere of peace and plenty. As the stars came out, the 3 species began to relax. The groundlings chittered among themselves. The skywhispers sang quiet evening songs. The Vrel hummed in deep, resonant tones, and somehow it all sounded like harmony. When the meal ended, each species left slowly. They looked back at the cafe multiple times. Shimmer approached Sarah and touched her hand gently with her crystalline paw. It was a gesture of gratitude. After everyone left, the crew sat together in their cafe. "We did it," Marcus said quietly. "We did," Sarah agreed. "And tomorrow they will come back." "I know they will." Shimmer walked out of the forest with her entire family. Behind them came more Vrel that the humans had never seen before. There were at least 15 of them. "They brought friends," Jenny whispered excitedly. The Vrel settled at various tables. They waited patiently for food. Sarah and her crew quickly prepared roasted vegetables and sweet breads. The Vrel ate peacefully, their crystalline fur glowing with contentment. Before the Vrel finished eating, the groundlings arrived. But not just the few families the humans knew. Dozens of groundlings poured out of their tunnels. Young ones, old ones, entire communities. They filled the lower tables and floor spaces, chittering with excitement. Marcus laughed as he prepared their favorite dishes. The groundlings loved everything, but they especially enjoyed the grain porridge with local honey. They ate quickly and asked for more by tapping their little paws on the tables. Then the sky filled with skywhispers. At least 30 of them landed on perches and nearby branches. They sang morning songs that made the air vibrate with beauty. Dr. Akafer sang back, and the skywhispers responded with even more complex melodies. The cafe was full. all three species eating together. Some looked at each other nervously, but no one fought. No one left. The food and the peaceful atmosphere kept everyone calm. This became the new routine. Every morning and evening the cafe opened. The three species came in growing numbers. They brought gifts for the humans. The Vrel brought glowing crystals and beautiful stones. The Sky Whispers brought rare feathers and flowering branches. The Groundlings brought underground vegetables and minerals they found while digging. "We cannot accept all these gifts without giving something back," Sarah said one evening. "We are giving something back, Doctor." HFY replied, "We are giving them community." Using her strong paws, she carefully turned vegetables on the cooking surface just as Marcus had shown her. "Yes, perfect," Marcus encouraged. "You are a natural chef, Shimmer." They were strong and careful, excellent at handling hot cooking equipment. The Sky Whispers contributed in their own way. During meal times, they performed aerial displays above the cafe. They flew in synchronized patterns, their color-changing feathers creating living rainbows in the sky. Visitors from all three species would stop eating to watch the performances. The Sky Whispers seemed to understand they were entertainers, and they loved it. The Groundlings proved to be incredible helpers. They expanded the cafe's underground storage. They created multiple cool rooms for different types of food. They even dug a tunnel system that connected the cafe to a nearby fresh water spring. Clean water now flowed directly into the kitchen area. "They are better engineers than me," Marcus admitted with admiration. David noticed something wonderful happening. The young ones from different species had started playing together. Young Vrel would gently chase young Groundlings in games of tag. Young Sky Whispers would fly overhead and drop soft leaves for the others to catch. The games had no rules, but everyone understood and everyone laughed in their own way. The adults watched carefully at first. But when they saw their children playing happily and safely, they began to relax. Some even started communicating with each other. The Vrel and Groundlings developed a system of gestures. The Sky Whispers would sing to express emotions that others seemed to understand. Jenny started a new project. She created a large board outside the cafe where anyone could draw or leave marks. She showed all three species how to use natural pigments to make art. Soon, the board filled with drawings. Vrel paw prints next to Groundling sketches next to Sky Whisper feather patterns. It became a community message board. One afternoon, something amazing happened. An elderly Vrel arrived at the cafe carrying something in its mouth. It was clearly very old, with fur that had turned silvery white. The cafe went quiet as everyone watched. The old Vrel approached the kitchen where Sarah was cooking. It gently placed its gift on the counter. It was a plant root, unlike anything the humans had seen. The Vrel made soft humming sounds and touched the root, then touched the cooking pot. "I think it is sharing a recipe," Dr. HFY said quietly. Sarah understood. She took the root carefully and examined it. The old Vrel showed her how to prepare it with gestures. "Peel here. Cut this way, cook slowly." Sarah followed the instructions exactly. The result was a thick, savory soup that smelled incredible. The old Vrel tasted it first and hummed with deep satisfaction. Then Sarah served it to everyone. All three species loved it. It became the most popular dish at the cafe. The old Vrel visited every day after that, teaching Sarah more traditional Vrel recipes. Other species began sharing their food knowledge too. Marcus worked on repairing the distress beacon every day, but now he did it with Groundling assistants. They helped him find minerals and materials he needed. They understood what he was building and why. When he finally got the beacon working, the Groundlings chittered with excitement. They understood their human friends would be leaving someday, but that day had not come yet, and until it did, the cafe continued growing. It was more than a place to eat now. It was a school where species taught each other. It was a playground where children made friends across impossible boundaries. It was a gathering place where old ones from different species sat together and shared wisdom through gestures and patience. Every evening, as the two suns set, Sarah would stand at the cafe entrance and watch her community. Dozens of beings from 3 different species, eating together, playing together, living together peacefully. "We were supposed to just survive here," David said one evening, standing beside her. "We did more than survive," Sarah replied. "We built something that will last longer than our time here." High above the planet, a rescue ship had just detected their distress signal. Help was coming. Everything was about to change. After 6 months, rescue came. Humans had tamed 3 native species and started a cafe. He stared at it for a long moment. "Captain," he called out, "we have a response. Someone is coming." Instead, they looked at each other with mixed emotions. "3 days," Jenny said softly. "That is so soon." A group of sky whispers sang while groundlings organized the underground storage. It was a normal, beautiful morning. "We need to tell them," Sarah said. That evening, the crew gathered everyone at the cafe. All 3 species came, sensing something important was happening. The cafe was packed with Vrel, sky whispers, and groundlings. They waited quietly. Sarah stood in the center. She pointed to the sky. Then she pointed to herself and her crew. Then she made a gesture of something going up and away. She repeated this several times. Shimmer understood first. Her crystalline fur turned deep blue, the color the humans had learned meant sadness. She made a low, mournful hum. The other Vrel picked up the sound. The sky whisper's feathers shifted to gray and purple. They sang a song so sad that several crew members started crying. The groundlings chittered frantically among themselves. The smallest one, who had been Marcus's first friend, ran to him and grabbed his leg. "I know," Marcus said gently, picking up the small creature. "I know, little friend, but we must go home." All 3 species stayed close to the humans. They brought more gifts than ever before. Beautiful crystals, perfect feathers, intricate carvings made by groundling claws. The humans accepted each gift with tears and gratitude. The next 2 days were busy. The crew worked with representatives from each species to ensure the cafe would continue. Sarah taught 3 older Vrel all the recipes they had developed. She showed them how to manage the cooking equipment safely. Dr. Akafer worked with the Sky Whispers on communication. She created a simple system of songs that could mean different things: help needed, food ready, danger nearby, welcome friend. The Sky Whispers learned quickly and taught the songs to others. Marcus spent his time with the groundlings. He showed them how to maintain the water system and keep the storage areas clean. The groundlings understood everything. They had always been quick learners. David and Jenny created a visual guide. They drew pictures showing how to run the cafe, how to solve common problems, and how to keep peace if disagreements happened. They posted these drawings all around the cafe where everyone could see them. On the final evening, the crew prepared one last feast. They made every dish they had created during their 6 months on the planet. Traditional Earth foods mixed with local ingredients, Vrel recipes, foods that groundlings had shown them, sweet treats that Sky Whispers loved. The cafe had never been so full. It seemed like every Vrel, Sky Whisper, and groundling on this part of the planet had come to say goodbye. The meal was both joyful and sad. The 3 species ate together as they had done for months now, but everyone knew this was the last time the humans would be here. After the meal, something unexpected happened. The old Vrel who had taught Sarah recipes stepped forward. In its paws, it carried something wrapped in large leaves. The old Vrel approached Sarah and unwrapped the gift. It was a sculpture made entirely of crystals. It showed a human figure standing with a Vrel, a Sky Whisper, and a groundling around them. All 4 figures were connected by carved lines that represented community and friendship. Sarah accepted the gift with shaking hands. "It is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen." "Thank you." It was huge and sleek, Nothing like the battered cargo ship that had crashed 6 months ago. The ship landed in the meadow near the cafe. Captain Vex of the Galactic Coalition stepped out. He was a Zentari, a species known for following rules and protocols exactly. He expected to find desperate, struggling survivors. Instead, he found a thriving community. His sensors detected 3 uncontacted species all gathered peacefully in one location. This was impossible. First contact protocols required years of careful study. "Captain Chen," Vex said sternly, "what have you done here?" He observed children from 3 different species playing together. His rigid military mind could barely process what he was seeing. "This violates every first contact protocol," Vex said, but his voice had lost its sternness. He sounded amazed instead. "We did not have time for protocols," Sarah replied. "We had 6 months and a need to survive, so we did what humans do best. We shared food. We built community. We showed kindness." A skywhisper sang a welcoming song. Shimmer walked over and touched his shoulder gently. "Remarkable," Vex whispered. The crew spent one more day on the planet, helping the Coalition observers understand what had been created. They assured Vex that the 3 species could maintain the cafe themselves. They had learned well. On departure day, hundreds of beings gathered. Every Vrel, Skywhisper, and Groundling came to say goodbye. The humans walked through the crowd, touching paws, receiving feathers, hugging small, furry bodies. Shimmer was the last to approach Sarah. The large Vrel touched her head to Sarah's chest, right over her heart. She hummed a long, deep note. Then she stepped back and her 3 young ones came forward. They gave Sarah the crystal sculpture to take with her. "I will treasure it forever," Sarah promised, "and I will tell everyone about you, about all of you." As they lifted off, they watched the cafe growing smaller below them. They could see the 3 species standing together, watching them leave. 6 months later, Coalition observers filed their reports. The cafe was still operating. All 3 species worked together to run it. They had even expanded, building additional spaces. The Cathara 7 community had become famous across the galaxy. The Meridian Dawn crew received the Coalition Medal of Unity, the highest honor for diplomatic achievement. But Sarah kept the crystal sculpture in her quarters. That meant more to her than any medal. News services called it the Cathara Cafe Accord. Scientists wrote papers about it. Diplomats studied it. But for Sarah and her crew, it was simpler than that. They had crashed on an alien world. They had needed to survive. And they had done it by being human, by sharing food, by building community, by showing that kindness and patience could bridge any gap, cross any boundary, unite any beings. Sometimes, the most powerful thing humans could do was simply invite someone to share a meal. The galaxy would never forget the 12 humans who built a cafe and united 3 species. And on Cathara 7, in a clearing surrounded by purple forests, the cafe still stands today. 3 species still gather there every morning and evening. They eat together. They work together. They live together in peace. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, the old ones tell stories to the young about the humans who taught them what community truly means.